Hello YouTube and welcome to the Awesome Blackness channel, or ABC for short. My name is Mighty, and on this platform, I'm going to explore the awesomeness of our black people. That's right, whether you're big or small, celebrity or civilian, anywhere in the world, if you're awesome, you're featured here. And it's time to drop another nugget.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, so I'm a fan of hip-hop, if that fact hasn't been made apparent by now. However, as noted in my video on Nipsey Hussle, my tastes are particular and relegated to a certain era, the late 90s, early 2000s to be precise. Thus, the subject of this video happens to be the product of that era. I'll certainly explain how as we go along, but first, allow me to formally introduce Kimberly Alice Hill, who is an American singer and songwriter from Camillus, New York, a small suburb just outside of Syracuse. Born on the 7th of August in 1970, Hill is the third of 3 siblings, raised by her mother. Her father was a Vietnam veteran who Hill dotes over, according to her IG. So, despite not being with her mother, he still seemed to have a presence in her life. These days, Hill resides in New Jersey with her one son, a young brother with a name that carries a lot of significance that I'm sure he'll live up to. Hill is best known for her work in the hip-hop group Black-Eyed Peas, whose style of music I was into, along with these associated artists. Now, I'm not gonna lie, as much as I'm a fan of the genre as a whole, and of that group in particular, or at least I was, as explained later, I don't actively listen to much music anymore. Yeah, I decided to roll into my booming years respectfully, only occasionally dipping my toes into the pool of the current pop culture, mostly for the purposes of this channel, but also to troll my teenage daughter and nieces. Whether it's clumsily attempting the hottest dance move, speaking the vernacular with concerted contextual faux pas, or looking totally out of place in the latest gear, I'm down for the meme. Yep, I'm that parent. I digress though. Anyway, that's part of why I hadn't really thought about the group in a long time. Well, I guess on the basis of levels, I was kept apprised of the Peas due in large part to their meteoric success in the early 2000s. For a time, you couldn't go anywhere without hearing songs like Where Is the Love, I Got a Feeling, Shut Up, My Humps, Like That, and the many other hits they seemed to pump out like they were their own Motown, or feel the presence in many other forms of media at the time. But that's as far as it went, I promise. Okay, wait, I'm kinda lying. I'ma Be was a low-key guilty pleasure because it was 808 friendly. Okay, but that was it, I swear. However, as to Miss Hill and her whereabouts, admittedly, had it not been for the algorithm deciding I needed to check out the New York Times op doc on her, I would have continued in my combination of willful ignorance and onset senility. Which is why I was glad to be soundly reminded of her and the beneficial contributions of hers during the undoubtedly golden era of the group. I guess YouTube has learned what I'm doing over here and is now making suggestions on who I should highlight next, huh? Anyway, the video was intriguing as it was also eye-opening, effectively unlocking the nostalgia vault, among other things. Thus, when looking up the first video I remember seeing her in, Joints and Jams from the Peas' debut album, Behind the Front, I was instantly taken back to junior year in high school. Ah, the wonder years. Those profoundly awkward times where I wasn't smart enough to be a real nerd or athletic enough to be a real jock. Anyway, the reminiscing brought me back to my first contact with the Los Angeles group. I must have listened to track 3 countless times on the bootleg CD I borrowed from my friend before actually seeing their video on the box. And when I did, it was a whole other level of mind blown, as I had never seen a collective like the BEP family. will.i.am, who was essentially my kindred spirit, was joined by members Apple the App, Taboo, and of course Miss Hill. My first impression is that they all looked weird, and not in a bad way. I had just never seen a strangely beautiful collective like them, who moved in such a cohesive, eclectic, and indeed creative manner. This is especially true for Hill, who had me transfixed the moment she appeared on screen and crooned the hook. The reason being is that next to another big Hill, she was one of the few black women at the time fronting a hip-hop group like that, which was a refreshing departure for what was being dominated on the TV. Maybe it was the ambiance, you know, the wind machine blowing her hair just the right way, mixed with my hormonal teenage angst, but I low-key crushed on her. Hard. Took Paula Abdul right out of that spot she had held since I was 8. Sorry, babe. But enough of the superficialities. Let's get deeper into how, among other things, she met and was instrumental in the group, and also what she's doing today. So Hill moved to Los Angeles in the early 1990s, where she found work as an extra on television shows such as Living Single. She also did music on the side, obviously, which is how she met the P's frontman, according to her interview with undoubted.com.
It was 1995, and I'd been in LA for about a year, and I met them through their original managers lived on my block, and we met, and they invited me to a showcase that coincidentally I had already been booked on for BMI, and I met them, and Will and I just like immediately clicked and started writing together like within days.
Soon she was writing and providing vocals for some of the most pivotal songs on their first two albums, the aforementioned and also Bridging the Gap, featured on tracks such as Hot and Tell Your Mama Come, as well as appearing in the video Weekends. On the strength of those works, Hill got to realize her childhood dream of performing on Soul Train in 1998, where the P's were asked to perform there. Over the next few years, Hill continued building upon the momentum of her appearance, both with the group and also on her own as a solo artist under will.i.am's label, I.am Music, when suddenly Hill decided to part ways with the group due to concerns over being over-sexualized by the group's label. A year after that, in 2002, the P's re-emerged with a markedly new sound, shedding their alternative hip-hop style for a more dance-pop electric sound, while also adding member Stacey Ann Ferguson, aka Fergie. And with that, they blew up, as they say. Do they still say that? This marked another significant moment in my life as it relates to the group. By this time, I was out in the world learning how to adult when Don't Lie from their fourth album, Monkey Business, was in rotation on the radio. Yeah, kids, this was pre-Spotify times I'm talking about, and the radio I'm referring to is terrestrial, not satellite. But they weren't on the local hip-hop station. No, they were playing on the one that was mostly known for the likes of NSYNC, Britney Spears, and Christina Aguilera. I remember the first time I heard the song, I said to myself dismissingly, "Ugh, this sounds so corporate," which made me effectively done with them. I mean, by that time, I was done with hip-hop anyway, as everyone I liked seemed to be cashing in for the mainstream success and wealth, which I suppose, if that's what you want in life, hashtag secure the bag. I just found out that the trade-off for becoming loved by everyone is that what made you loved by a few is oftentimes sacrifice. As for Miss Hill, she forged ahead with the solo career she had long cultivated, dropping a few albums, then further diversifying herself with the following: occasional appearances in indie projects such as the heavily marketed as starring New Orleans rapper Mystikal's Making Baby, and In the Morning, with a wonderfully shaded cast of black awesomeness. See you all soon. The film is directed by Nefertiti Nguvu, who herself is building a resume upon a respectable foundation of indies. See you soon. Additionally, Miss Hill is a DJ, a skill in which she acquired on the fly after stating to a producer in Prague that she could do so, all of which can be found on her self-named website. And if that wasn't enough, Hill also has a cosmetic line, Next of Kim, that she started in November of 2018, in addition to running a boutique in Brooklyn's Bedford-Stuyvesant, of which contains not only her wares and clothing, but also offerings from other designers. Just maintaining that sisterhood. I dig that. Oh, and speaking of boomers, sorry babe, apparently Miss Hill just started a YouTube channel like 2 seconds ago, so maybe we should go over there and give her some love. That and her Instagram gives her fans insight as to the goings-on of this diva matriarch. So what makes her awesome is apparent. Hill was perhaps the closest anyone has ever been to fortune and fame that I'm aware of, and she decided punching through to that next level wasn't worth the cost. She basically took the good professor's advice and named her price, which is an incredibly brave thing to do, given how alluring the industry is and how quick people are to write you off as a could've, would've, should've, or has been. None of which you are to me. You simply are. And perhaps in her quiet moments, after she has endured a day full of reminders, intentionally or subliminally, of the greatness that eluded her, she does entertain a fleeting what-if thought with wonder, like any of us would when faced with such a crucial fork-in-the-road moment. Nevertheless, she doesn't allow it to fill her with regrets or hold any resentment toward the successors of her former group, which, by the way, there have been a few. Amazing what you discover in research. Sis, I can tell just from watching how others moved in that higher stratosphere, despite the allure, no amount of money or fame can obviously attain the happiness that comes from within, nor can it compensate for the integrity that you may have to trade in to get to the next level. You may not be reminded enough, but I believe you made the right decision, contrary to how it may seem at times. You know, on a personal note, I wanted to get into hip-hop. Yep, although the details of which are a story for another day, I too had that fork in the road moment. Certainly not at the level of Miss Hill, but all the same, I had to make a choice. Now here I am, trying to work my way up to AA status on YouTube. Yay! Okay, so thanks for watching. You know, it's customary for me to reach out to the subjects of my video and just make them aware of what I'm doing over here, usually by sending them a link and hoping for no more than a view. However, this being a small channel, not even a blip on the radar, it's unsurprising I get no response. And that's not a knock to the people I've covered so far, I just get it. I'm one of hundreds of thousands sliding into their DMs at any given moment that, for all I know, I'm being curbed by their social media manager. That said, big shout out to Miss Hill for not only replying to me, but also supporting this video. It was a huge boost in morale and just the motivation I needed to pump this one out. So again, follow her on social media and YouTube. Speaking of support, up next is a request from my brother, who has been in my comments section heavy as of late. He also has a channel under the name Sonic Spray Paint, so go over there and drop him a sub please, as he is a spoken word artist but being a bit lazy right now. Perhaps the motivation of some new subscribers will resurrect his channel, who knows. In the meantime, if you like what you've seen, keep the love coming the best way you know how, by liking and sharing. Get more people to like, share, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you know when I drop another nugget. And until then,
This is Kim Hill, and I have 2 words for you. You ready? Well, those aren't the 2 words. Stay awesome.
and here's an interesting fact that I think a lot of us can relate to. Growing up in her predominantly white neighborhood, Hill would often have to code switch between her black and white friend groups. I know that feeling all too well, as I had to do so. You know, I still find myself switching it up depending on who I'm talking to, as it is a habit that oftentimes never leaves you. It's at this point that I was going to recreate how it may have sounded, but as I tried, it started to come off as authentic as my British accent, or worse, my Jamaican one. So,